given that you had such focus on being a b-boy, how did you then develop similar skills and get so good at DJing at the same time? Like, why did you split your focus?
I mean, part of your day is funny. Part of your day is working on your head spins. Part of your day is working on your footwork. And then part of your day is just working on a cut that you heard. Grandmaster DST. Herbie Hancock. Remember that record? Rocket.
Yes.
Is that called Rocket?
Yep.
Practicing that cut over and over. Practicing Grandmaster Flash, cutting in Wild Style, Good Times, back and forth. Practicing, like taking time, and they be talking about 10,000 hours. Try 30,000 hours. You know what I mean? Like literally every day, all day, breaking up your time and mastering your skill. KRS-One said, build your skill. I truly believe in that. So I ended up doing that with those facets. And they came down to DJing, producing, and which turned into production, and b-boying. But b-boying, the body can only go so far. Except for people like Crazy Legs, I always say, he's still going though. He's like a robot. So for me though, I just slow down. I love it, but I just make the music for the b-boys now.
Okay. Gotcha. And then how and why did you link up with Dallas Austin?
Dallas Austin's brother appeared at my door one day. I used to live in the hood in West End of Atlanta, right in the middle of the hood, and Holderness and Lucille. That was the street in my corner. And everybody knows it's the mosque over there and the drug dealers across the street. And so one day, this is funny. One day, this trooper, you remember troopers, the trucks with the big lights across?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Troopers, two of them rolled up, boom, boom, bumping music. And we looked out the window like, who is that in the hood? A whole bunch of dudes got out in Dickies, Lokes, Tim O classes. They rolled up and they had these boxes in their hand. This is bugged out. Knocked on the door. I was in college at the time. They said, Soul Messiah here. Where I come from, I don't know who Soul Messiah is. I was like, I don't know. Who's asking? And his brother was named Claude. His name is Claude Austin. He's actually Dallas's big brother, Dallas Austin. He passed away, rest in peace, but that was the homie. But he said, I'm looking for him because I'm trying to get him some work. I was like, oh, well, I'm him. But they had boxes in their hand. I didn't know what that was. So he's like, can we come in? I was like, yeah, come on in. And so he came in, him and the whole crew, a whole bunch of dudes. Highland Place Mobsters. That's who it was. It's a group. You can look them up. Highland Place Mobsters. And they were actually an R&B group with some rappers in it. It's bugged out. They were different. They never really blew up, but they were on the Face Records. Anyway, they came in and they was like, my little brother's a producer. And I want you to help us to build this squad up of producers. And you come in and do production. And I said, okay, what's my pay? First thing I asked, because I didn't know who Dallas was. And he said, your pay. And he opened these boxes and he had two, like this is a drum machine behind me. This is a MPC X by Akai. He had a drum machine, but it was an MPC 60. It's like the second version of this. Early version of this, it was white. He's like, your pay is this, that, and an SB 1200. This is your pay. I said, this is my pay. I knew that them joints cost $2,500 a piece. I was like, okay. So he gave me the drum machines and said, I'm going to come and pick you up Monday. And we're going to take it down to the studio so you can meet Dallas and get the ball rolling. The rest is history. After that, me and Dallas became real close friends. And I didn't know what I was getting into because I got to sit with the gods, from Michael Jackson to Boyz II Men to Madonna to, it's crazy. Soul to Soul, Fleetwood Mac. Well, the woman that sings in it. You name it. TLC, even though I kind of grew up with TLC though. But it was all of the stuff that I thought I'd never do. I thought I'd just be b-boying and doing underground hip hop forever. I never knew that I would end up being able to be in those rooms and bring a part of me into that, which I did.
So how did Dallas Austin find you and his brother? How'd they find you? Or how'd they know to look for you?
It's a guy named Spearhead X. Well, he calls himself Big X now. He's now
from Y'all So Stupid. Y'all
there
So
you
Stupid.
go.
Yeah.
You remember Y'all So Stupid single, the Soul Messiah remix of 85 South?
Yeah.
I grew up with X. Like, I'm talking about from kids. Yes. And he said, I told them about you because I knew what you did. And he was one of the producers also. was me, Spearhead X, the guys who did the thong song, Tim and Bob. It was a couple of cats, and we were all in a crew. Much like you see, we were the first hit men, and put you like that. We were the beginning. You know what I mean? Of the first crew, late 80s, early 90s, producer crews to produce a lot of the records that you hear. You know what I mean? But yeah, X is the reason that all started. It was because of him. He's a fire starter. He's able to, that's why he's the head of Coalition DJs now. He's a really organized dude who loves the culture and adds to it. He never takes away, he adds to it.
Yeah. Now, Y'all So Stupid were on Rowdy, of course, Dallas's label.
Yep.
And as was Monica and many others. So, and Dallas, of course, did a lot of work with LaFace via TLC, etc. So the question then becomes, why, given Dallas's magnitude and the people like yourself that are working with him, why do you think Dallas Austin isn't more revered, acknowledged, understood his contributions? Like, why isn't he more revered?
Well, he is. He got entered into the Music Writers Hall of Fame maybe last year. Him and Jermaine Dupri. It was that this year. I think it was last year. But you know, he kind of slowed down. You know, a lot of times when you slow down, I mean, the dude did all the hits and made all the money. So not everybody can continue going. He still does it. I think I saw something he did on Remy Ma that was really dope, actually. Remy Ma and Chris Brown. But you got to think about it. You're talking about Michael Jackson. You're talking about TLC. You're talking about Madonna. Do you know them checks?
No, I don't. Sadly, I do not. I do not.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let me put it like this. Them guys made a lot of money. And I don't mean, you know, a lot. We talk about the rappers today and how much money they got. Nah. It was a different world back then. It was a different world. I'll just say that. They were not broke. And it's to the point where they don't have to do anything ever again. It's like, if you pay attention, you look at a couple of years ago, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis publishing deal, $350 million for a publishing deal. Come on, man. You know, it's like, me personally, artistically, I like to work. I like creating personally. Everybody's different. I'm always going to create, money or no money. That's just what I do because I've always done it. But he still creates, but I guess not as much because he don't have to. You know what I mean? We go up and down in that creative processes. But, you know, I see Jermaine still going hard. Jermaine goes hard. You know, and I came up with Jermaine too. He an old breaker. We used to break together. Lil Jon, same thing. We used to DJ together when we were in high school. You know what I mean? So like Atlanta is Atlantis, I always say. Atlanta is Atlantis. It's the center. Whether for good or for worse. You know what I mean?
Okay. So then what was the reason that you decided to go on your own and leave Dallas, DARP, whatever it was?
DARP, I saw people's checks was $3 million and mine might be 15,000. I was like, you know what? And I was the first one to have kids out the crew. So I was like, yeah, y'all don't understand. I'm making good money, but y'all are making really good money. They'd be like, it's not our fault. And it wasn't. They had people, you know how this industry thing goes. There's people above you that are handling the business. And you can't bring everybody up. You got to pick one and then pit everybody else to compete. I'm not going to compete against my friends. You know what I mean? Everybody went on to do something, though. Tim and Bob did the thong song after that. And you know what happened after that. X did a lot of stuff after that. And he's the head of Coalition DJs. Arnold Hennings, who did a lot of 112, is still producing. And everybody's ended up going and doing their things. I went back where I was, which is in the culture of hip hop, what we call underground hip hop, but more of a pure form of hip hop. And I was there when I first went, and I'm there now. You know what I mean? So we all made some money. We all are able to take care of ourselves because of the work that was done early 90s. You know, a lot of people don't understand what publishing is, but it does allow you to be able to work and be creative, because if you do something and you handle your business right, you know, in the coming years, you could take care of your family. You know what I mean? I don't really have them problems. You know what I mean? Because when I was young, I didn't know certain things, but I caught on pretty quick. You know what I mean? So, you know, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know, I wasn't one of the people that got done in either. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that I could have been done better, but then we do whatever happens to us is our doing or undoing. And I figured it out early, and I broke out about 1997, I went and started doing my own stuff. And I'm still cool with them cats though. You know what I mean? I still talk to Tim and Bob. You know what I mean? I still talk to Dallas.
Gotcha. So why do you think, because Y'all So Stupid, I remember were, if not the first, one of the first groups I ever remember showing like riding skateboards and videos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think they didn't catch on more or in a big way?
That's a good question. But you know what though? I think it might be with what did Arista? Arista was the label, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they knew how to do rap just yet. I don't think they got it right to OutKast, if you think about it. And
Yeah,
that was a difficult sell in itself, being from the South, being purely Southern, but they had all the elements of hip hop, but from a different aspect. But I don't think they had it right. You know what I mean? So they weren't able to put them where they needed to go. And they were dope. Like you said, they were dope. Van full of Pakistans. It was dope.
yes, it also holds the title "Van Full of Pakistans" being one of the more distinctive titles in rap history for an album title.
Yeah. I never heard it before or after. Nothing
Yeah,
like that.
very, very interesting. Got to give a shout out to Spearhead X, Shaw Boogie,
Yeah, man.
Uncle Buck, all
Uncle
them.
Buck. Yeah, man. That's the crew.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So then one of the things a little bit later, because I knew who you were through reading credits and stuff, but then when I saw you had done the stuff on the Sound of Revenge by Chameleonaire,
Mm.
kind of like with Murs, what we were talking about earlier, Chameleonaire's not really known as much for kind of the reflective stuff, but the Rain and Picture Perfect songs that you did on Sound of Revenge are much more like social commentary, reflective, a little more pensive.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so how and why did that end up being the stuff that you guys brought out of each other?
With him, he's from Texas, right? So, you know, UGK's out of there. Texas is very reminiscent of Atlanta when it comes to hip hop. That's why you saw Pimp C was down here and out in Atlanta. He moved here and was producing with Organized Noise, actually. So I knew, and it's funny because my name is Soul Messiah, and he was the mixtape Messiah, Chameleonaire. But I knew that he was heavily independent on his own, and this was like the first deal that he had taken. But I knew that I wanted to fit within that Scarface, UGK. And the crazy part is I didn't know that he was going to put Scarface on the song. But
On Rain.
I thought Scarface when I made it. I didn't know he was going to put Bun B from UGK on the song. But when I made it, I thought that. And I guess he heard that. Because I sent him the music. He was like, I want this. And it's all playing. It's no samples on that. It's all live stuff. And one is an interpolation of
Isaac
Xzibit.
Brothers
Yeah.
on Picture Perfect.
Right. And my thing was, it's got to be soulful, yet it's still got to have them drums. And I wanted to sound and feel like classic Texas hip hop. And he literally went and grabbed those legends and put them on there, which is good for me. It's a really good look because I can now say, oh, I produced for Scarface and I produced for Bun B. But he was an underdog, and he's one of them people who came in, blew up, and now he's like a investment banker or something. He's doing his thing financially. But he left what we call legend. You know what I mean? Like he was literally a legend. And then I don't know if he stopped, probably still doing music, but that's what we know of him, you know. And that was a really big record. And it's funny because I met him. You're talking about socially conscious. I met him through the producer of Dead Prez, this guy named Tahir RBG. He did a lot of production with Dead Prez and The Roots. And me and him worked a lot when I lived in Brooklyn. And he was like, this dude is dope. You need to make sure you produce on him. And I did. And it was a good look.
So when and why did you move to Brooklyn?
Oh, I moved. Okay, let me go back. It's a lot of stuff going on in my life. Around 98, I hooked up with this young group I met called Jadis, Jatis. Y'all can look them up. They got a song or two out. And I recorded an album on them. And that album, I ended up, okay, so this is, the worlds all collide. I'll just tell you that. Biggie's manager, I had been cool with for years. And he came to me and said, yo, I like that group you got, Jadis. I know this dude who owned a label in New York. I was like, which one? He said, Loud. I said, of course, Loud. Yeah, you know the dude from Loud. All right, whatever. He actually did. He hooked me up with Steve Rifkin. I went up for a meeting in New York around 2000. And he was like, I really like the record. How would you like to do a production deal with us? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And I hooked up with Sean C. You know, the producer Sean C and LV. They were in the Hitmen, actually, with Puffy. And that was my A&R, Sean C. And he's like, we got Wu-Tang, we got Xzibit, we got Akon, we got David Banner, we got Juicy J with 3-6, we got all these people. I was like, yo, let's do it. So I did a deal. And back in them days, you had to be close to the label. We call it moving close to the check. So I moved close to the check. They were in New York. So I moved to New York around 2001 so that I can be, because you have to stay on them if you want to get your money, period. I'd already did the album. I took it to Loud. Then guess what? Loud closes. And so we end up over at Sony. Now at Sony, my A&R was this cat named Lenny Nicholson. Lenny Nicholson was also the A&R for 50 Cent, Nas, that whole, you know, it was real hip hop over there with him. But Sony didn't know what to do either, because Jadis is very reminiscent of traditional ATL hip hop. Basically, OutKast Part 2, people would say. That didn't work out. Ended up taking Bobby Creekwater. He went over to Eminem, to Shady, as a solo artist. It's one of the guys in the group, Bobby Creekwater. And he did his thing over there. And he just went and kind of did his thing. I don't know whatever happened with that. But that's how I ended up in New York. But while I was in New York, I worked with Dead Prez a lot. I worked with a lot of different groups up there. A couple of movie soundtracks. And I actually ended up hooking up with Nappy Roots when I was in New York, even though we all from the South. And a lot of different groups. You know what I mean? But back then, it was a more hands-on thing. It wasn't no emailing the beats. It was go and hook up and sit down with artists and build beats and production and sound and concepts. You know what I mean? So I did that with Nappy Roots. I did that with a lot of different groups. But I ended up in New York because of Loud Records, actually.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.